The Joe Rogan Experience.
They say that sheep hunting's the hardest. They say that like Alaska sheep hunting, in terms of like just the difficulty of the terrain and the dangers of it.
Yeah,
You agree with that?
somewhat. Yeah, I would say I've only been on a couple sheep hunts in Alaska. Right, most of mine have been in lower 48 or the NWT, the Northwest Territories. The thing with Alaska that's easy is you're not gaining that much altitude. Distance is far. You're not, but the weather is bad. Like generally the weather's pretty bad, and then the amount of pressure now. And again, I'm not an expert on Alaska. The pressure is much worse than it's ever been in Alaska.
In terms of the amount of hunters.
Hunters, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of hunters out there.
Yeah.
And then animals, grizzlies and shit.
Yeah, which is a fucking real. You've seen us get charged on video, I think.
Yes.
Haven't you? Yeah.
When you were with the Gritty Bowman, that was terrifying.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Tell
Dude,
that
I'm
an
story.
adrenaline junkie. I'll tell a true story.
Okay.
Because it's not. I thought we were calling him moose, and I'm like looking, and I'm like, I think there's a moose coming, and a grizzly pops out. I'm like, hey, get your camera. Let's call this thing in. This is a true story, right? Because we made it sound like it was, oh, here comes a grizzly. So I thought it was going to get to that fucking stump and stop, right?
You called the grizzly in on
He
purpose?
was coming into a moose call, right? So
Oh, no.
I'm like, hey, grab the cameras. Let's get this on video, because he was looking for our moose calls. So this big bitch gets by that log, and she stands up, and she's looking around, and I'm like, oh, cool. And you can hear my shutter on the video. Fuck, it hit the ground, and it was coming. And I'm like, oh. Well, and immediately, I've been charged enough to where I'm an adrenaline junkie anyway. I'm desensitized, and I'm like, well, he's going to eat fucking this other dude anyway. So I'm like, you can see my camera shifting right a little as I'm taking these photos. I didn't have a weapon, I had a bow. And so here pretty quick, I'm thinking, shoot this motherfucker. It's like 15 yards from us.
Oh, my
and
God.
He fired off a round at its feet, and I knew his gun jammed on the second round sometimes. So I'm like, oh, that fucking piece of shit Browning Able doesn't jam on this second one or whatever it was, right? Not saying a Browning's bad. Well, it stopped, do you remember? And it came again. Mm-hmm. I think it was like 10 yards when it finally turned off and, ran
God.
away. But
10 yards is nothing.
well, I tell you, like,
That's almost like that wall.
yeah, it was big too. It's a big one. But
Was that in BC?
yeah, that was in BC. In reality, though, you talk to I bring up the Lancasters, who I went with when I stayed in the NWT for that 2-month time frame. Mm-hmm. Those guys live up there. I bet if you asked a Bart or a Clay Lancaster how many times they've been bluff charged, it's like triple digits. Like, just hunting with those guys, the shit that they've done.
Triple digits, meaning 100 times?
At a minimum.
Oh,
and
my God.
So like the shit those guys deal with, they've been doing it since birth, right? And so I was telling like Amy and Frank, I was like, okay, you guys know how much I've done and all the different things, hunted and how many animals I've put on the ground. It's a fraction. Clay Lancaster's been on 320 sheep hunts. 320.
That's a lot.
That's not including caribou, moose. He's been all over the world. So the amount of experience those guys have and the stories, like when I get those guys on the podcast, it's hilarious because I just got to experience the 2.5 month section of it. We were literally from a light bulb, from a paved road, hours from any electricity. Like, it's a 12-hour drive to where the helicopter picks you up, and then you're flown in another 2 hours.